So today's lesson, the 35th lesson of class, was on inductive reasoning, whereas the last couple of days was on deductive reasoning, and hopefully you got from yesterday this very high-tech visual. There you go. Deductive reasoning, like your multiple choice test or the Quarto game. You take a number of different possibilities and you narrow it down to one, whereas inductive reasoning, you take one item and you extrapolate larger things from that. So if you were absent or you need some reiteration, I'm going to show you how we went about this today, and I essentially threw you into the deep end and hopefully you flailed your arms and started swimming. So Salsiccioli Moodle is where the class page is located. There's history, there's philosophy. We are obviously in philosophy, and the unit we are in is logic. I will click on logic, and it says lesson 35, inductive reasoning examples, and you will click on this, and here we go. Okay, so the first page was simply a reiteration that you know what deductive reasoning is and what inductive reasoning is. And this was the simplest part, and I don't want to do all 10 with you, but I'll give you one of each. So let me look for an obviously deductive argument here. So how about we take number 4 here. The chances of rolling a 5 with a die are 1 in 6. Now I can deduce, if I roll a die, there is one of 6 outcomes. Always. Forever and ever. Airtight, deductive. Whereas inductive, I'm going to go with number 9 here. The chances that there are atmospheric conditions similar to Earth's elsewhere in the universe are very high. So extraterrestrial life probably exists. And if you look at the vastness of the universe, as astronomers call them, Goldilocks conditions, exist somewhere out there. Therefore, if conditions similar to Earth exist out there, most likely there is life out there. Now that is inductive reasoning. So hopefully you got the basics between those two items. And then looking at arguments here, or claims, there are deductively valid arguments, inductively strong arguments, weak arguments, or worthless arguments. I'm just going to take a couple. Let's start with, this one strikes me as valid, E. The weatherman said that a low pressure front is moving into the area. The sky is overcast. I see people in the streets with umbrellas. Therefore, it will rain. Okay, now there seems to be some strength because the evidence here. The weatherman is showing a low pressure. The sky is overcast. You look up, you see the sky. There's people in the streets with umbrella. Therefore, it is going to rain. That has some strength to it. Some are somewhat weak. So, for example, well, how about this one? My last 2 Mazdas have performed well, so I'm sure that the next Mazda I buy will perform well too. Not necessarily. Now, is it likely? It could be. And, you know, if it was the last 20 Mazdas, it might add some strength to it. But just because the last 2 work doesn't mean the third one. Not as strong as some other ones, and some are completely worthless. My nose itches, so I'm going to have a fight. That's obviously a nonsense. So I don't want to give it all away, and there is some room to debate on how you see it. Do you see it weak? Do you see it strong? I think the worthless ones are fairly evident. And then the next part of the drill, this was a tough part, is finding connections to these words using logic. So I'm just going to do one of these because I want you to really dig deep into this. So money is to vault what box is to jewelry, ascend is to descend, attic is to trunk, clothes is to closet. So let's see. Money goes in a vault. Box doesn't go in jewelry. I'm going to deduce it's not A. Ascend, descend. Now these seem to be opposites. This is not. So I'm going to deduce it's not B. Attic, trunk. Now you don't put an attic in a trunk. You might put a trunk in an attic. But you do put clothes in a closet, just like you put money in a vault. Therefore, deducing these, it is D. So I'm going to ask you to go through all of these and see if you can really apply logic to these examples. And they're challenging, but they're fun challenging. At least I think they're fun challenging. And here's the ultimate. Okay, this is a little more involved. And these are some real-life examples. And what is being claimed? Now, a claim is a statement of what one feels is true. Now, there's 4 ways that you can address a claim. Intuition. I have a hunch. Seems right. That's just a starting point. And then authority. Did it come from a source that I can believe? So, for example, in the hallways, if you were going to ask a freshman when the next assembly is, or the principal, well, I think I can believe the principal a lot more than the freshman. Then logic. You have to apply logic to the claim. Does it make logical sense? And then you ultimately seek out evidence. So that's the A portion. Is the evidence relevant and sufficient? Now, is it a straw man, or it just throws you off course, or is it relevant, it's tangible, it's related to the subject? Is it enough? Do you need more evidence before you move forward? And then describe the argument type. Is it an analogy? Is it a generalization? What type of argument is being made in these? And then is there any fallacy or mistakes in reasoning? Now, we're going to learn logic fallacies after this lesson. And this is a nice little entree into those. And hopefully, even if you can't put a name to it, if you can't say ad hominem, if you can't say straw man or slippery slope or no true Scotsman, logic fallacies have these titles, but can you identify the flawed way of thinking? That's the logic fallacy. And then any relevant comment about the reasoning used. And this is the part where I really want you to look at and say, was this reasoning sound? Did it make sense to me? And obviously these are a little more lengthy. It's going to take a little more time. But this is the important part, because if you're sitting at home watching the news, or you get online and you read a news story, do you go through these things? Are you looking at the claim? Are you looking for evidence? Are you looking at the argument? Are you looking for flawed thinking? What are you thinking to yourself, saying, hey, should I trust this article? What is needed? This is the grown-up, real-life stuff that does not go away, and I think it's a safe argument that we live in a nation of a lot of people who are ignorant to how to address stories like this, and I think it's caused a lot of trouble. Certainly confirmation bias and some of the cognitive biases that we've already learned about, I think we see them daily as we listen to our news stories and the class discussions you have in your class. So I think you know full well what's going on. So again, hopefully you were able to get through all these. Hopefully that by now you know the difference between deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning, basic building blocks of logic. And then after this lesson, we are going to learn about logic fallacies, what not to do. Okay, do the opposite of what I teach you after this, and you'll be all set. So thank you for watching.